mid-October, Mike Stefanik set out to make history. No driver had ever claimed 2 NASCAR Touring Championships in the same season. Title weekend began with Featherlite modified practice in Thompson, Connecticut. The mods have been good to Mike. 9 wins in '97. He's the winningest driver in division history. 6 victories in a row. Broke the legendary Richie Evans all-time record. After dialing in this car, he and Julie headed across Connecticut to try and clinch the Busch Grand National North title.
Usually you get up in the morning and get a mindset on what you have to do that day, and you just get up thinking and focusing on what you have to do. And it's hard to like comprehend this whole deal. It's like you go here and you focus on running this modified. All of a sudden now, okay, put that on the back burner and go run this Busch car. So I've been doing this a long time, so I should be comfortable. But I got to admit that I really like to win this championship really bad.
Nervous indeed. The Lime Rock finale marked the completion of Stefanik's 3rd year of racing with fenders. He scored 2 wins and had a healthy point lead, but a crash or a mechanical could cost him the crown. Despite feeling a great deal of pressure, he still had time for fans, friends, and sponsors.
2-time NASCAR modified winner, current leader of the modified point standings, and also the Busch North Series. Please put your hands together for Mike Stefanik.
Good luck. Thanks.
Hey, Mike.
Thanks.
Good luck, Mike.
Thank you.
Good luck, Mike.
Thank you.
Good luck, babe.
Thank
Stay
you.
bright.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Hey, Mike, good luck. And good strategy. From second starting spot, Stefanik grabs the early lead, then drops back into a low-risk, clinch the title mode. He finishes 9th. He's the champ.
We're going to Thompson tomorrow.
Well, Mike, you go and do some celebrating tonight. Remember, you got some more business to take care of over in Thompson tomorrow. Good luck in locking up the Featherlite Modified Tour title tomorrow.
Yeah, smallest piece of cake. I'm not even concerned about that. I'm going there to have fun. I'm gonna drive like I wish I could have drove here today.
Piece of cake indeed. To claim the Featherlite Modified title, all Mike has to do is start, and he'll be the king of the Modifieds for the 3rd time in his career.
We're going to have fun today.
I wish you could start next week, bud.
It's going to be like yesterday. It's going to be fun.
Because of the busy weekend, Mike was forced to start at the back of the field, but he charged through the traffic to a top 10 finish and then celebrated another championship. In 2 days' time, Stefanik made NASCAR history. With Julie and 2 great teams behind him, he became the first driver in the modern era to win 2 major NASCAR titles in the same season. Today, Stefanik tries to claim the season's final prize.
Well, he has numerous nicknames. Some call him the Rhode Island Rocket. The one I like the best is Iron Mike. We're talking about 39-year-old Coventry, Rhode Island champion now, Mike Stefanik. And champ, I guess I got to call you champ. He won 2 titles, never been done before. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds good, champ. 2 great teams. That's what made it happen. They put great cars under me and allowed me to run at that level all year. And those are the people that really deserve all the credit.
People say you had to be nuts to try it, but would you try it again?
I think we would. We're crazy enough to try that again. We'll have to see how the schedules are laid out and see what NASCAR has up, as far as straight-up conflicts, but we'll take a look at it.
Now, the best part about having been claimed as the titleist for 1997 today is?
No pressure.
Hey, go get them. You're starting 3rd. Have a good one.
I hope so. Thank you. All
right, champ. Mike Stefanik starts 3rd, and you're about to find out why they call these guys the men who live by the grace of God and 600 horsepower. As modified racing from Martinsville, or I should say Richmond, is next.
Raceway in Virginia is the scene of the NASCAR Featherlite Modified Tour finale. It's the General Mills Fall Final here on ESPN2. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain along with Benny Parsons. Happy to report that the skies behind us are clearing, and we're getting set for a big day of modified action, but not before we add our congratulations to Mike Stefanik. What an accomplishment.
Amazing. Stefanik was able to win 2 touring divisions in just 1 year. And the amazing thing, folks, he was not able to devote 100% of his time to either division, but the races he was able to devote the time to, he won. And today, he devoted 100% of his time to this race.
So he's coming here along with the rest of the league to wrap up the season and to decide 2nd place in the championship. Pretty good battle here between Fuller and Conley for that number 2 spot.
Just 40 points separating 2nd and 3rd. And just like any touring division, anywhere in the top 10, there's money and prestige.
Let's get back to the dock. He's with Rick Fuller.
Back in 23rd starting spot, Rick, it's been a good year for you and even a better day today, even though you're not qualified that well. Talk about the emotion you're thinking right now.
Well, you're right. It's been an excellent year. I've had a great time here with Art Barry. You know, these guys, they've given me an awesome race car every week. And you're right. Again, we qualified pretty horribly, but just think it's more for you guys to talk about. Get to come from the back and put on a good show for the fans.
Well, you're just a team player. You thought you start in the back of the field, give us a great show. Now, next year, people may not realize you're moving on the Channel Lock deal, moving on to Busch Grand National Series, and that's ahead. But today, you've won at this racetrack. How do you play it? How tough is it?
It's in the beginning, starting this far back, it's going to be a waiting game. We're going to just try to maybe team up with a couple of the other faster cars that are back here, bide our time, try to get to the front before the pit stop. We have one here. Drafting plays a big role, and I can't wait because I love drafting. And Polar Beverage, you know, and Rebuilders Automotive Supply, all these guys have been on the team all year. It's a super team. And again, you're right, because I'm really looking forward to next year. Channel Lock and Doug Taylor, they've given me the opportunity of a lifetime, and I don't plan on letting them down.
All right, good luck to you, Rick. Go get him today. Rick Fuller also would like to be able to finish second in the point standings. He's 40 points behind Tim Connolly, and that will end today. Who will finish second? We're not sure. We'll find out in just a moment. Let's go back upstairs.
They are side by side on the grid, and that's the way the modifieds race at Richmond. The General Mills Fall Final ought to be a good one. We'll introduce the starting lineup and fire them up in just a moment. We're back, and the cars have rolled. The NASCAR Featherlite Modified Tour, 23 races long, about to wrap up here under threatening skies at Richmond, Virginia. And quite a field as you go riding today with Tim Conley, the man who battles for second place in the championship standings. We'll start from 7th. Here's your lineup. Tony Hirschman, the 96 champ, without a win this year, alongside the part-timer in the series, Ken Woolley Jr. In row 2, you will find Mike Stefanik looking for his 10th win of the year, alongside Tiger Tom Baldwin, who's been shut out this year, but is sponsored by Richmond International Raceway. Next in line will be Dan Avery, lining up alongside the Virginia veteran Satch Worley, hoping to win one for the home folks. Conley, the former football quarterback, is next. He'll start 7th alongside Jan Leedy, an earlier winner this year at New Hampshire International Speedway. John Blewett, the 3rd, will line up 9th. Series legend Reggie Ruggiero alongside.
In row 6 is Tony Ferranti and Ed Kennedy. In row 7, Dave Bergman and Doug French. Back in row 8, we find Charlie Pastriak and Doug Dodaro. In row 9 this afternoon, Tommy Cravino and Mike Iwanisco, our winner at Martinsville. In row 10, Danny Watts Jr. and Chris Kopek.
Further back, we've got Dave Cook and the other Pastriak. This is Carl. Rick Fuller starting 23rd today. Some catching up to do as he starts alongside Barabee. Sam Russo is next with Pat DePonte alongside. Jim Long and Jack Bateman. And then Zane Ziner and Tim Airy. Last drivers to qualify on time were Steve Channing and Bruce Taylor. The provisionals go to some big names. Eddie Flemke Jr. and Jamie Tomeno had to take provisionals today, along with S.J. Avanchin and Ted Christopher. So some good guys will be coming from the back, as Fuller indicated, when they drop the green on this field to go 150 laps. We had a huge field here, Benny. There was talk that we might barely have 36 cars. Look at all these guys that went home.
And folks, this is not all of them. This is only the first page. There's the second page. You're right, about 55 cars you're trying to qualify for 36 spots.
This is a very, very healthy division, and its 13th year as a touring series for NASCAR. Again, riding with Conley as we prepare to attack the 3/4 mile D-shaped oval here at Richmond. A great racetrack for these cars, Benny.
As you can see, the turns are banked 14 degrees. The start-finish line 8 degrees, in the backstretch just 2. Coming off turn 2 is the trouble spot at this racetrack, simply because it's really, really tight getting off the corner. See, the backstretch only just under 700 feet long.
These babies have been around forever. The Modified Tour, formally initiated 13 years ago. 150 laps is going to require a mid-race pit stop driven more by tire wear than fuel mileage, right, Ben?
Yes, it certainly is. And somewhere the tires should be able to go somewhere between 60 and 80 without any problem. The race record almost 85 miles per hour, and racing for almost $90,000 today.
That's worth getting the pedal down on one of these high horsepower V8s, little lightweight open wheel automobiles as you ride with Conley, the former football star at Ithaca University up in New York. Managed to beat up both knees pretty badly. chucking the pigskin on fall afternoons and decided maybe race cars were safer. Let's go down to Doc and find out about the tire strategy today, Doc.
All day, 13 of the 36 starters are on Hoosier tires, the front row being among those, and the reason they're up front is because the Hoosiers are softer. We'll see if the softer tires will hang on for 150 laps as we are set for green here at Richmond.
Green is in the air. We're underway. Hirschman jumping out front down the backstretch. Woolley in a battle with Stefanik for second. Give it to Mike.
And Tom Baldwin, the black number 7, dives on the inside of Ken Woolley. And Stefanik going for the lead at turn 1. Put the Champ in first spot.
Champ says, no pressure today. I can go out and race for it. And it took him a lap and a quarter to work his way around Hirschman. Boy, Tony's got to be a frustrated boy. Hadn't won a race this year, won the championship last year. He has chased Stefanik throughout 1997, and Mike's made it clear that that's going to be the order of the day again today. Baldwin going to work on Hirschman for second and third.
Talking to Tommy Baldwin before the race, he's very optimistic. Change engine builders this week, this race, and feels like he has more horsepower. That's the reason he qualified so well.
That was a good qualifying run for Woolley in the red car. He sits in fourth spot here, having dropped back 2 positions after qualifying on the outside pole. Reggie did not qualify spectacularly here today. He was 10th on the grid, but he's already moving forward. Golf-sponsored automobile of the guy who's won 36 times on the tour, 35, I believe it is. That was tied for the all-time record until Stefanik went crazy and went out and won 9 of these things this year.
That's Dan Avery in the 10 car, directly in front of Ruggiero. He's trying to get by.
Reg's working on him, looking to the bottom.
Tries to dive down to the inside, can't make it. These cars open wheel a lot like the Indy type cars. You do not want to touch wheels. It's almost a sure catastrophe when these 2 cars touch wheels.
It's one of the spectacular things about this division. There always is that lurking sense of danger when they get close together, and yet they spend their whole lives close together. Man, they run those old bull ring short tracks up in the Northeast. They are beating on each other, and that's tough to do in these kinds of cars.
77. John Blewett, the third in the 77 car, trying to get by Leedy.
Blewett coming off a pretty decent season. He was able to defend his track championship up at Flemington, New Jersey regular. Now we go back up inside the top 10 as Avery continues to battle here with Ruggiero. That's a good position fight.
Ruggiero decided he'd try it on the outside. That didn't work. Well, it may work because now he has a car to use as a pick, and he did get the spot as Avery loses control off the corner. Now he chases down Satch Worley in the 30 car.
So we're off and rolling in Richmond with the modified division. We'll take a commercial break. Ruggiero on the move. We're back at Richmond. NASCAR Featherlite Modified Tour action. And Stefanik jumped out front. He stayed there.
He is staying there as Tony Hirschman tries to chase him down. Still Tom Baldwin back in third spot. Just the way. Oh, and a crash coming off turn 2. Looks like Dan Avery's car. That's Woolley. Came off the corner and just bam in the outside retaining wall. Heavy contact.
Ken Woolley Jr. out of Howell, New Jersey, having run to the outside pole in qualifying, runs into the outside of the turn 2 wall here. Flemington regular driving for Dick Barney. It all comes to a bad end. He hit her pretty good over there, Benny.
He sure did. He was running about 4th spot, came off the corner, and it just all of a sudden looks like it swapped in and hit with the left side. I thought that he hit with the right. Looks like he swapped in and banged it with the left side.
We'll see just the tail end of this left side of your screen. There's the smoke, and yeah, he's facing the wrong direction when he went in.
Yeah, he swapped in, goes around, hits it with the left side, hits it really, really hard.
What is it about turn 2, Benny, that makes it? I mean, every division that comes here says the same thing. Boy, turn 2's that's your trouble spot. Why is that?
It's just so tight getting off the corner. Coming off turn 4, it's a long sweeping corner. Going in turn 1, a long sweeping corner. But as you exit turn 2, it looks like the racetrack immediately makes a 90-degree left-hander. Very, very difficult. I see a few raindrops on the camera of Tim Conley's Tidy Cat car.
I don't know about you, Benny, but that does not make me particularly happy. We have been threatened by rain throughout the weekend, but all indications were that we had a little window here in which the event could be run. As you can see, we've run 12 so far, with Stefanik leading all but one of them. Now, let's hope that this is not the window closing, as we are under yellow for Ken Woolley Jr.'s crash over in turn 2, the Dick Barney car. A lot of good drivers have driven for him over the years, including such big names as Wally Dallenbach Sr., Tony Ciccone, John Blewett III, among others. So we, well, I'm going to say we continue under yellow for the Woolley incident and not for the rain. The Richmond area, of course, has a great tradition for these kinds of cars. The modifieds used to run down here when they called it Strawberry Hill Speedway. The Strawberry Hill gang still have little corduroy caps that they wear. 1991, well, that was the Mike Stefanik era at this joint. After they rebuilt it, he took the lead from the outside front row starting spot in his number 15 and led most of the first half of the race on a rather prettier day than we have here today. Took on 4 new tires, got back out front, and duked it out with guess who? Tiger Tom Baldwin. Same black 7 that you're seeing out there today, battling for the top spot. You can see here how the modifieds can run side by side on this racetrack. In the end, it was Stefanik holding off George Kent for the victory. The first of Mike's 2 wins here on the 3/4 mile oval. He said then it was one of the most important wins of his modified career, in part because it came right here at Richmond. Such an important racetrack. That's Bill Sawyer on the left. His dad, Paul, built this place, presenting the trophy back in 1991. Well, this is not for Ken Woolley Jr.'s crash. These cars have pulled back on to pit road, and this race is not yellow flagged. It is now red flagged due to rain. They did a great job at getting the thing dried out, Benny. They timed it perfectly. They got the tires out there, dragged them around this morning, fired up the jet dryer, ran a couple $1,000 worth of fuel through that, got her all dry. Stefanik got the lead. Now it's raining again. Let's take a break. NASCAR Featherlite Modified Tour, Richmond International Raceway in Virginia. The rain was brief. The cars are rolling. And we hope to resume here momentarily with the modified racing. Meanwhile, the World of Outlaws will be coming up tomorrow from Phoenix, Arizona, Manzanita, actually, 8:30 Eastern time tomorrow evening. And then on Tuesday, we'll have the wing sprints coming your way from Las Vegas, Nevada. Sammy Swindell trying to hunt down his 3rd national title and first in 15 years. This red flag was preceded by a yellow flag incident for the outside pole sitter, Ken Woolley Jr. over in turn 2. Benny?
Watch as he comes off the corner, gets just a little bit too high. And when he does, he tries to bring the car back down, loses the back end, and slams the wall hard with the left side of the car.
And the key there is left side. You prefer not to hit with the driver's side, and so they spent a good bit of time with Ken getting him out of the car, used the backboard to extricate him. But perhaps we can get an update from Jerry Punch on pit road about his condition.
Well, Dave, they have taken Ken Woolley Jr. inside the Richmond International Raceway Care Center behind me, and we'll get an update to you on his condition as soon as we can. Now, what the crew members standing here are speculating may have happened, in fact, even a couple of drivers following Ken into turns 1 and 2, think what may have happened is that he may have cut a right rear tire. Remember, these are bias ply tires, not the radial tires we see in the trucks in the Busch and Winston Cup. And the bias ply tires are much easier to cut. It said Ken got caught up in the outside groove up high in the early laps and may actually have cut a right rear tire, or it was going down and went into turn 2 there. It snapped around on him. We'll get a report from inside the care center here momentarily.
We can tell you that when they took him out of the car, Ken was conscious, was talking to the medical personnel, and was assisting in his own extrication from the car, which is good. Mike Stefanik took the lead from the pole sitter, Tony Hirschman. right at the drop of the green flag. Tom Baldwin jumping up into third spot. Virginia veteran Sad Worley and Reggie Ruggiero really on the move from 10th to 5th. Looking back further into the field, you see John Blue at the third has moved inside the top 10. Conley involved in that battle for second place in the championship standings is currently running in the 9th spot. And further back in the field, not having moved into the top 15 yet, is Fuller, although he's headed the right direction as he sits in 19th position. Rick Fuller trying to pull off second place in the championship in what may well be his last modified race, Benny. It's going to be sad to see him get out of this division.
Yes, it is, but it's always good to see some young guy with ambition moving on to the next level, and he's going to the NASCAR Busch Series.
Tail end of the field, Ken Woolley Jr. will be scored 36th today as the first car out. So the good news is the rain has abated. We'll all cross our fingers and toes and hope it will stay away long enough to complete 150 laps here. We're now 15 in and preparing for the restart as Stefanik brings it down to the inside pole.
And you see how they line the cars up two abreast on the restarts. The NASCAR Featherlite Modified Tour does that. It's pretty impressive.
And Baldwin says, maybe I can steal the advantage here as they run into turn one. He gets right up alongside Stefanik, but Mike's got the good line around the outside and says, no, Tommy, I'm not going to make it that easy on you. And Stefanik holds on to the lead. That'll drop Hirschman to third.
See the cars wiggling as they come off the corner. Reggie Ruggiero looking on the inside of the 10 car, Dan Avery. Satch Worley, the black 30. Satch is a Virginia boy out of Rocky Mount. And 47 car, Bateman, Jack Bateman, slow on the inside. He was on pit road just a couple of moments ago as Chris Kopech goes down pit road.
Bateman doing a good job of staying out of the way of the traffic as Stefanik opens up the gap over Baldwin, who hasn't won since the fall final at Stafford a year ago. So it's been a dry spell for Baldwin, sponsored by Richmond International Raceway. He's all pumped up to try to salvage something from it here today and close the season on a winning note. But remember, Hirschman right there alongside him has also not won this year. That's a pretty good position scrap.
What, second, third, fourth, and fifth being pretty hotly contested right now. Hirschman took a look on the inside of Baldwin, could make the pass. And now Reggie Ruggiero's on the outside of Dan Avery, comes off the corner. And Hirschman once again diving on the inside of Baldwin. Looks like he's going to take that second spot away as Ruggiero has moved into fourth.
Benny Bowler, the car owner, will be happy about Hirschman pulling off that move. Bowler has been building modifieds as long as anybody in the business. He's won the last 3 championships, one with Wayne Anderson and now 2 with Tony Hirschman. But they were dethroned this year by the guy who is beginning to run away with this thing, Mike Stefanik. Look at the gap.
Well, as I said, he put forth 100% to run this race, and we can tell what happens when he puts forth that 100%. So he's just driving, as you said, driving away. And now, look at Reg. He's looking on the outside of Baldwin.
This is going to be 100% effort, too. Reggie Ruggiero has come from 10th. He's into 4th. He's working on Baldwin. Looked inside, goes outside.
Now he's going to go to the inside, and he's going to make this pass. Well, is he? No, not quite. Show what Reggie's car is really, really working well.
Reggie is a car builder, along with Eddie Flemke Jr., the second-generation star in the modified division. They build what are called the Raceworks chassis. It was a Raceworks that Ken Woolley was driving. As Ruggiero tries again on the outside to make the pass, let's get an update on Woolley's condition, Doc.
Well, Dave, this made awfully good news in the infield care center. We are told that Woolley is awake and alert and complaining of a headache, but otherwise is okay. And apparently the crew have talked to him inside, and he thinks that their speculation was right. He must have cut a right rear tire or broken something in the right rear. In any event, the right rear tire was flat. But the good news is he's going to be okay.
All right, thanks for that, Doc. That's good to hear. You're always concerned when a driver goes in driver's side first, but the news is good about Woolley. And some pretty good news here for Worley. Satch Worley in the black 30 is challenging Baldwin. As we take a commercial break, we'll be back with more. We're back in Richmond. Here is the battle for third spot. Number 7, Tom Baldwin has it, or check that fourth spot. Baldwin challenged on the outside by Worley. They are side by side, wheel to wheel. A couple of old veterans having had it pretty big time right here, Benny.
Sure are. Satch Worley's only run 3 or 4 races this year. As we'll see, John Blewett in the 77 car closes it on the back of these two. Just before the commercial break, Jerry Punch reported that Ken Woolley was awake and was complaining of a headache. And the key thing that Jerry said was the right rear tire was flat, which tells you he did not hit the wall with the right side. So, yes, that tire was flat, and that did, in fact, cause the spin.
And I guess if you're the driver, it's helpful to know that something mechanical let you down, that it wasn't your own error that got you into trouble, or something reassuring in that. The 25 is Jan Leedy. He's following Blewett to the front here, as Worley has made the pass on Baldwin, and it looks like Tom's got the motivation, but perhaps not the handling in the black 7 today. He had challenged for the lead. Now he slipped back to 5th and is in danger of losing more.
Saw a battle just a moment ago with 25, Leedy, and we see something on the 32 car of Dave Bergman, something on the nose of his car. Meanwhile, we go back to the battle between John Blewett and Jan Leedy. It's Blewett in the 77, Leedy in the 25, and we put Jan in that spot. And Iwanisco comes up. That is Mike in the 8 car that is going to take a spot away from John Blewett.
Iwanisco is a 4-time winner this year in Featherlite competition. He'd love to close the year with 5 as we go for a ride here with Conley, the second-ranked driver in the series, currently outside the top 10 in the running order. That's a nice shot. Gives you a pretty good sense of what a modified feels like and the kind of speed these cars achieve around this racetrack. And also, I guess, about the fact that there's a drop or 2 of moisture in here.
And I think that Tim Conley won his first Featherlite race at Watkins Glen, the race that we did up there. And after that, he was able to claim 3 more victories in 1997.
Had a good year this year, driving the Mystic Missile, as you can see there on the car. That's Bob Garbarino's automobile. Bob, one of the longtime owners in this series. Mystic, the town in Connecticut. Mystic Missile. Boy, a lot of famous cats have been at the controls of that car through the history of the modified division. Conley, the former footballer, wheeling it down.
There's the 31 car, Tony Ferranti and Tommy Cravino in the 17 car. The 17 is owned by Bobby Fuller. That's Jeff and Rick's brother. As Conley goes by, takes a spot away. So we'll move him up in the order 1 more position.
We've seen Satch Worley in action here today, contending for top 5. He's one of the former heroes who's driven that Garbarino Mystic Missile. Brian Ross, Bugsy Stevens also on that list. This is Stefanik. Stefanik is the process of checking out on this field. Actually, I guess I would say that interval has stabilized at about a second, perhaps back to Hirschman.
And we see now Leedy trying to get by Tom Baldwin, as Iwanisco is closed up right on the back bumper of Jan Leedy in the 25. And they put some distance on John Blewett, just in a lap or so. So obviously Blewett's panel going away in the 77 car.
Blewett looked really stout. He and Leedy were hooked up, going to the front together. Leedy kept on going. Blewett apparently has lost a bit of the edge there. Front runners, we go back up front to look for Stefanik as he works his way through the traffic. There's your series champion.
Boy, he does have some heavy traffic he's got to work his way through. Look at all those cars.
Careful, 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 Mike Stefanik. Jerry?
After that brief practice this morning, Mike Stefanik came into the garage and said, you know, the car is just way too tight. It's just going to get tighter as the day goes on. So they made a gamble. They decided to go with a smaller front sway bar to loosen the car up. He said the big problem is, after about 35 laps, we may have made a mistake. The car might get too loose. Right now, we're going to find out if that gamble will pay off.
Well, we've completed 38, Doc, so if 35 is the magic number for that trouble to start to reappear, we should begin to see it. No good grounds for comparison here, of course, because he's working his way through lap cars. The key is the interval back to Hirschman, and as we said, for the moment, that appears to be stable, but Tony Hirschman in the blue 3, which you have to sort out of the traffic jam there, is also battling traffic. So it's tough to get a good relationship of car performance in that kind of a jam.
Ever see Tom Baldwin? He currently is in the 5th spot. Leedy's in 6th, and Iwanisco in 7th.
Iwanisco's a make things happen kind of guy. You got to feel like he's not going to sit back there in 7th spot. It came from 18th, qualified 18th on the grid, so he's already marched past 11 cars to get inside the top 10. 4-time winner this year, going for a top 5. Baldwin under pressure from Leedy.
And can't quite make it. As I said, you do not want to touch wheels of these babies. And look at the traffic jam that they're approaching.
Tommy's using all the road, isn't he?
He is using all the road. Now Leedy said, well, I guess I can't make this pass on the inside. I'll try the outside. And Baldwin has been passed on the outside by a couple of cars, and looks like we might be able to add Leedy to that list.
Yeah, Iwanisco thought it was going to work. He went up there with Leedy, but now again, Baldwin's able to hold his own as they go side by side down the backstretch. Now Leedy's going to get the spot, and Iwanisco's going to be right there to make it 2. So Baldwin drops a couple more positions, and he is now in 8th. We'll take a break and be right back. We're back at Richmond when Stefanik cleared the traffic. He cleared out. I mean, he left. Hirschman doubled the interval, which I would call a couple of seconds now, back to the second-place car in the field. Tony is now free of the traffic, and we'll try to see if he can't bring his lap times down to match those of Mike Stefanik. But this is a car that's not showing me a whole lot of sign of being ill handling, Benny. If they were concerned about that sway bar, I think those concerns would be fading here at lap 45 of 150.
So would I. There we see 3rd and 4th spot, and we see that the 30 car, Satch Worley, has gotten by Reggie, and now here comes Leedy trying to work on Ruggiero.
Satch Worley, been doing this a long time. Best of the Virginia drivers in the field. He started racing this division back in its early history. Yellow is out. I wonder if this is for the weather. Worley and Ruggiero. Satch having started 6th and Reggie 10th.
It's for that car sitting up against the wall.
That'll do it, won't it?
Yeah, once again, they turned the car around and slapped the wall with the left side.
Looks like it might be a virtual carbon copy of what we saw with Woolley earlier.
Steve Channing is the car that's sitting there, the 28 car. Steve is from Uxbridge, Mass. So yes, I do see him taking his gloves off. So
that's good to see.
Very good to see.
So we're back under yellow for Channing at lap 47. Let's take a break and come back with more. Wrapping up the NASCAR Featherlite Modified season. Monday night is all about football. We get in on the action with NFL Prime Monday. Mike Tirico and the crew bringing you up to date on all of Sunday's action and looking ahead to Monday Night Football. That'll be at 7:30 on Monday night. And then, of course, the big game, the Steelers and the Chiefs. Cordell Stewart bouncing back from a concussion, boasting a better than 50% completion rate. So you should watch and see if he can maintain those magnificent statistics on the old gridiron. Here on the racetrack, we are under yellow. We have a little sprinkle of rain, but the yellow is still for the incident at turn 2, which involves Steve Channing.
And there we see Channing coming off turn 2. And around he goes. Looked like Ken Woolley's accident, but this time Steve Channing did not hit the wall nearly as hard as Ken Woolley. As we saw, he crawled out of the car.
Woolley, meanwhile, as you heard the update from Jerry Punch a few minutes ago, who just joined us, is okay after a pretty hard clout in the turn 2 wall. Some of these drivers have taken the opportunity to make pit stops during the course of this yellow flag, including the driver of this car. Tim Conley was not happy with the way the 7th place car was performing, and I wouldn't be very happy either if I'd taken the 7th place car and marched all the way to 13th. But they have attempted to correct the problems with his car down on pit road. Jerry, can you tell us more about what they did down there?
All right, Tim Connolly came in and changed the right rear tire. The rules here dictate you can change 4 tires, as many as 4 tires, under caution here today. In fact, they decided to go ahead and come in and change the right rear, check the stagger. About lap 120, they'll come in and change 3 more. That'll be their 4. We'll see if that right rear tire change indeed will help Tim Connolly, who, by the way, is trying to hang on to 2nd in the points today.
Ideally, of course, you would not make 2 stops here. This, for most of these guys, should be a 1-stop race. It'll be a one-line restart when we're prepared to resume, and that will not be this time by, as we are still under the yellow. So for Conley, a lot of pressure here, having to make that early pit stop. Definitely not part of the game.
But if Conley can make it the rest of the way, all these other cars have got to stop. So that might be, if he can run 100 laps, might have been good strategy.
If their intention to pit again might change if, as it unfolds, they end up at the front of the field and the race car's behaving itself. Safe to assume, I think, that they probably got the fuel to go the distance. Here's the front of your field with Stefanik out front. It was a healthy margin that has been erased by the yellow. Hirschman, the pole sitter, is second. Satch Worley has marched impressively to third from sixth. Ruggiero even more impressive, coming from 10th to 4th. Unitsko is now sixth. The guy who's been going the wrong way is Tom Baldwin. But Rick Fuller has become the story. He started 23rd. He told us at the top of the show that he was going to pass people as quickly as the field settled down, and he is ninth in the running order.
And Tim Airy also in the 10th place car started back in 30th place, and that's a brand new car that Airy has. Jerry Punch?
You guys talking about pit strategy, you know, you don't really have to make more than one stop here for fuel, and that would be anytime after the halfway point for tires and fuel. But what a lot of the guys were thinking about doing is exactly what Tim Conley did a moment ago. They figured if you're not running in the top half of the field or not having a good run, why not come in and go ahead and put a right rear tire on and then put 3 more on around lap 120. Now, the guys running up front, because of the threatening weather, don't want to make a pit stop at all, at least before the halfway point. And many of those guys, including Stefanik, may go as much as 115 to 120 laps before they stop and put a right rear tire on, or up to 4 possibly. So 2 different strategies, a right rear tire and then 3 to follow, or just 1 pit stop for 4 all the way around.
So it's all about track position, and normally that would be much less an issue here, Benny. But when you're stopping the race or going yellow every 30 laps for rain showers on the windshield, track position is everything.
Track position is everything, and we can see just how equal these cars are, how difficult it is to pass, and how these cars can get side by side and run that way for laps after laps.
The other side of that issue is this guy, Tim Airy, starts 30th, runs 10th. That car will pass people. Switched to the Featherlite Modified Tour in 95, former Wall Stadium champion. Definitely got a good horse under him here today. And we talk about Fuller coming from 23rd to run in 8th position. So the opportunity to charge with a good car is certainly there. But it's a big gamble if you give up all that track position and then the rains come down. 54 laps are in of 150, and you see the cars coming on to pit road. The red flag is back out for rain at Richmond International Raceway. We'll take a break. Be right back. We're back. There was some question whether they were going to let Mike Iwanitsko have his position back. He certainly thought that would be the appropriate course of action after he spun under caution. He went charging back up to the front, and then the news came on the radio. Mike, you are in the back. That was a huge mistake. Iwanitsko from 7th to the tail.
And he didn't get to make a pit stop. You know, he didn't have time to go ahead and make the pit stop. That would have been okay to go to the back if he'd been able to put new tires on as the green flag waves.
60 laps in, Stefanik picks up where he left off 14 laps ago. But this time he's got Hirschman right on his tail. Early in third. Here's a move on the inside from Ruggiero.
That's the lap car of Doug French, the 98 car on the outside of Ruggiero.
Reds didn't want those leaders to get away. Well, the first 2 are doing just that, but now Stefanik has a challenge. It's Hirschman on the bottom. Stefanik's car loose. Hirschman says, I'll take advantage of that weakness.
And Tony Hirschman, Stefanik side by side. Great battle for the lead, and look at those tires, how close they are. And as we've talked about, you do not want those tires to touch. That's not giving up, is he?
You don't have, oh, we got trouble here.
There's a wheel broken.
That is Jim Long, who has obviously made contact with something. And the battle for the lead continues. But when the caution comes out in this division, they freeze the field. The wheel goes bounding down the backstretch. They do not race back to the caution flag in the modified division. As Jim Long Jr. loses a wheel, it'll be interesting to see who they determine was in front, whether or not Hirschman had the nose out or Stefanik was the leader. Here's Jim Long Jr., Flemington Speedway regular. This is his first year on the tour. He got to the pit road and stopped before the wheels stopped. Here's how it happened.
We see Tim Airy in the 66 going by there to see the 20 car, and the wheel just broke. The wheel, there was no real contact, just simply broke off Jim Long's car.
Airy is very lucky that when the wheel broke, Long kept it in a straight line. Had that car just scooch right a little bit, it would have violated the don't touch wheels rule and might have sent Airy into the nickel seats. As it is, the wheel broken, Airy goes on his way, and Long goes to pit road where the crew are talking it over. He was the rookie champion up at Flemington, and this is not the sort of development that you want to have regardless of your experience level.
They're working on that car in Staten Island, New York. Jim Long's, they worked on that car, one of the New York boroughs.
Baldwin will cut to pit road. Under this, the fourth caution of the day.
Now, Iwanisco, we saw him go to the back of the field. Perfect chance now to come into pits, make a pit stop, and go the rest of the way. As Baldwin coming down pit road, slowly coming down.
35 miles an hour is the pit road speed limit, and that is maddeningly slow when you're used to running well over 140 as these cars do here at Richmond. And by the way, for the record, Hirschman is the leader. Again, the modified division, they freeze the field. The moment the yellow comes out, the position you're in is the position you keep. Hirschman leads. Let's go to Jerry.
Well, Tommy Baldwin had complained that the car was getting very, very loose. You know, he made that charge in the first 5 or 10 laps and then began to fade. And his philosophy a little bit different than just changing a right rear. They decided to go ahead and change both rear tires. And now the car stalls. It's off the jack to get it refired, and he will move down pit road. So Tom Baldwin says we will come down and change both rears, and we may come back in after lap 110 or so and put 2 more rear tires on the car. We'll see if that plays off.
Well, we've got to get ESPN2 in that race car for Mike Iwanisco because he didn't make a pit stop, even though Benny told him he should do that.
Mike need to come in pits.
65 of 150. All right, complete 75 is halfway, but that is no longer a big issue. Hirschman, who started from his second pole of the season, now leads the race over Stefanik as we're under the fourth caution of the day. Satch Worley has sat back there in third spot, looking pretty comfortable for a lot of laps now, just in front of Jan Lady, who sits in fourth spot. Fifth is Ruggiero.
Zane Zeider, the 76 car, making a pit stop, changing right sides on that car.
You get 4 for the race under yellow, 4 tires that you can change under yellow. You can put them wherever you want. You can make 4 stops under 4 yellows and put 4 right rears on if you want. You can have as many tires as you want under green. If you spin in flat spot tires, then those will be replaced. Those are outside the tire rule. So it does require a pretty significant amount of strategic thinking. Where do you put the rubber to get the best out of it? Satch Worley sits there in third spot. Jerry, what's their plan?
Well, you know, Satch Worley, being from Virginia, he told me during the break a minute ago that he loves this racetrack, and why wouldn't he? I mean, he's had great success here over the years. Back in 1990, he came here and broke a left rear strut. He came behind the wall. He lost 6 laps, came out and made up 5 laps under the green flag here, and had a chance at winning the race just a lap down. I think he ended up finishing 9th or 10th that day. Now, the problem he's got today is this. He is down on horsepower. He said the car is handling like it's on a rail, but we don't have any horsepower, which may be to our advantage late in the race. They're going to try to go to lap 80 or 85, make a pit stop, and possibly be able to get a top 5 finish or even better, as Mike Iwanisco now finally decides to come down pit road.
They must have gotten ESPN2 up there, Dave.
And radioed in and said, Mike, Benny says pit.
There you go.
They should be taking any extra money from Mike's crew, though, for giving them free advice here today. By the way, they're still talking about that race car that Satch Worley had here, what's it been now, 6, 7 years ago, back in 1990. We overheard a pit conversation today about how good that car was. When you make up 5 laps, that is serious indeed. Don't see anything untoward happening with the Iwanisco pit stop, so let's hope he has his bad luck for the day out of the way. We'll take a break and be right back. We're back, and we're ready to get back at it here at Richmond. Pace car has pulled off, and Tony Hirschman started this race from the pole and could not hang on to the lead. Will now accept the green flag again at lap 68.
Oh, look at him diving around. They were 3 abreast for just a moment, but they get things right, and now they're only 2 abreast back in the field.
On a first lap position sorting, that's Conley working on the inside of the 04 of Dave Barabee.
Looks like Conley's car is running a little bit better after making that pit stop, changing some tires as he goes by several cars.
Just hoping this thing will stay green for a while so we can get back some of that track position that he surrendered. Again, the weather should no longer be an issue. What is interesting at this moment is the extent to which Tony Hirschman has checked out and the problems for Mike Stefanik. Stefanik's car has gone away. He has slipped to 4th position and is in danger of losing more. Meanwhile, in the middle of this wholesale shuffle, the Pasteryak boys are at it.
That's Charlie in the 5 car. The green number 5 is Charlie. Looks like Doug French on the bottom in the 98 car. And they're trying to make it 3 abreast. That's Dave Bergman, the white 32.
No getting in line back there. This is every man for himself.
Well, what a mix-up.
They're doing a good job, too. Close quarter combat in a division that dates back to the earliest days of NASCAR. The cars looked a lot different back in the era when Red Byron won a modified championship. Back then they had fenders.
Check out Con as he continues his charge forward to front. That's Tommy Corvino. He's on the outside of a start-finish line. And the 00 Ted Christopher following right behind him. Current 11th spot, Conley. Christopher started about 33rd or 34th, is now right behind him in 12th spot.
Christopher with the provisional, and who knows why. There's Corvino. Man, this is a scramble, and this is right at the tail end of the top 10. There goes Christopher on the outside.
And Conley got hung on the inside, could not get by, and there goes the 00 Christopher by. And Reggie Ruggiero, he must have made a pit stop because he's trying to work his way back, or he's going backwards one or the other as Ed Kennedy goes by. Tries to go by.
Out front, Hirschman continues to lead. And Fuller is definitely going forward. He is now 6th on the racetrack. So if you got a good car, you go forward, a la Christopher from the back to the tail end of the top 10. A la Fuller, who started 23rd and is now at the tail end of the top 5. If your car is misbehaving, you go backward. Witness Stefanik, who has surrendered the race-long lead and fallen now back to 4th.
See Tim Airy in the 66 says Ted Christopher, the 00, the red car. Tries to go by Eddie Flimke. That's Flimke in the black number 11. That's Christopher. What a great run. And some smoke out of one of these cars.
Christopher can drive. I was shocked to see him in a provisional when we got here to the racetrack because he's an excellent driver in the modified division. Very competitive. Doesn't run for the championship. Doesn't necessarily always run all the races, but had 3 wins in the 97 Busch North division, the division in which Stefanik won the championship. He won at Watkins Glen, New Hampshire, and Lime Rock. Still looking for his first victory on the modified tour.
It looks like the 66 of Airy might be rubbing the right rear tire. Looks like it's rubbing something because in the corner we're getting some smoke off the right rear of the 66. Oh, I'm sorry, that's an engine.
Yeah, that doesn't look good, does it?
Engine oil leak appears to be.
That's been a very impressive car here today from 30th to the tail end of the top 10, but it looks like Airy's day may be going up in smoke.
No, they believe it's a valve cover gasket that's leaking on the 66 car.
And if that's the case, then it's a matter of running until the black flag comes out. Not likely that he would damage the car with that amount of smoke, if it's just an oil leak, it's not coming out the exhaust, but NASCAR may take a dim view of it if he starts blinding the competition behind him.
And so far, it's just a small leak.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough to bother anybody. You see there that Conley ran right through the oil stream as he followed him through the corner, so it must not have been bothering him too bad.
There we see Stefanik as he tries to work his way back to the front. He's currently, as you said, in 4th spot. That's Satch Worley in the 30 car that Stefanik's trying to go by.
This is happening the length of the backstretch behind the leaders, however, as Hirschman has checked out. And I'm not sure whether this is a case of Stefanik charging up there and catching the 30 or the 30 backing up to it.
Watch this, Christopher. Look at Ted
It's amazing. Yeah.
And the caution flag is out. Boy, this is a break that a lot of cars have. We've got some contact up in 3 and 4. Tommy Baldwin is spun. He continues on his way. I think that's the 03 car. Yes, it is. Bruce Taylor also involved. He and Tommy Baldwin somehow made contact and spun.
Baldwin got going in a hurry, and this happened just as Christopher was in the process of making a pass to climb inside the top 5 from dead last. Out of Plainville, Connecticut, the Citgo Sunoco Chevrolet with a provisional here today. Pretty impressive run for Christopher. We last had the opportunity to see him not on ESPN, but we were there for ESPN. We were at Watkins Glen to do trucks and saw him win the NASCAR North race up there, the preliminary. We're going to take a commercial break, come back, sort out the field, and see who can get their cars fixed on the pit stop. Stay with us. We're back. Satch Worley, make it Ted Christopher will now lead this race as the front runners come down pit road. Hirschman is in, Leedy is in, Worley has pitted, Stefanik is there, also Fuller. It is going to be a wholesale effort on pit road now as the leaders all stream in for, in some cases, badly needed service. Let's go to Jerry.
Well, Pete Carrot had taken care of Tony Hirschman. He's the crew chief for Tony Hirschman here in the Lenny Bowler-owned car number 3. They were very concerned about the right rear tire. They were trying to save it early on, and Tony said, hey, what the heck, let's go ahead and pass Stefanik and go to the front. Now, this will be their only pit stop of the day. They have changed right side tires, and now we'll come to the left side to change the left rear. No concern about the left front. It should go the entire race. Meanwhile, behind Hirschman, Mike Stefanik definitely getting a needed tire change and an adjustment there. They have changed both right side tires and will change the left rear on that car number 6. Hirschman is down and away. Rick Fuller, then Leedy, then Stefanik in that order as they exit pit road.
So for Hirschman and company, good work, well done. Fuller, a big gainer in the process as he was able to pick up a couple of 3 positions coming off pit road, and will now be second on the field and maybe as good a car as we see out there, Benny.
Now this is going to be exciting as these cars try to work their way through the cars that did not stop. And headed up on that list, Ted Christopher. And we saw just how fast he was right before the caution flag.
Christopher starting dead last with the provisional. Now leads in his quest to claim his first ever Modified Tour victory. We're under yellow for an incident up in turn 3 and 4 that involved Tom Baldwin
and Bruce Taylor. And there we see Baldwin going around. That's a 7. And Taylor, I don't know where Taylor was.
At the tail end of it. I think Taylor may have already spun down low enough that we couldn't see it in that shot. Let's go to Jerry.
Hey, we told you they were concerned in the Tony Hirschman pit about the right rear tire. We mentioned the Hoosier tire is a little bit softer. That's why they qualified so well. Well, take a look. This is the right rear tire off the lead car number 3. And folks, this little bubbling right here, that's what's called blistering, or this tire was about to blister at about 85 laps or so. So a lot of concern. They told Hirschman you're going to have to nurse it these final 70 laps to make it the rest of the way. But this right rear tire probably wouldn't have gone another 5 or 6 laps under green.
And that's 86 laps, but probably half of those laps have been run under the caution flag.
And Hirschman, by his own admission, was taking it very easy for many of those laps and just following Stefanik around. It was only in the last 10 laps or so that he really put the hammer down. And now, Benny, if he's had any hope of winning, he's got to go hard because he's way back there in the traffic and going to pass a lot of people.
Now, this thing is far from over. This has certainly not been played out yet.
S.J. Avansian has climbed out of the number 35 car. How, you asked, does the car continue to circulate the racetrack? We're told that his son has climbed in to drive the last half of the race. Apparently there's nothing wrong with S.J. Give the kid the opportunity to get some seat time here. Sorting out the last of the pit stops. You saw the tail end of Tim Airey there as he returned to the racetrack after attention to the tires and perhaps to the valve cover leak that was causing some concern.
All right, business is starting to pick up. Green flag is out.
Just before the restart, after the last red flag, we heard some talk on scanner radios. The drivers were hoping for tinted visors in time for the restart. I don't think any of them got them because we got that report just minutes before they actually dropped the flag. I got to wonder about visibility as they come down into 3. The sun's going to be right in their eyes.
Well, we've got an onboard camera with the 4 car right there. We see him, Tim Conley, so we'll be able to see what he's able to see going in turn 3 and just what kind of problem that sun might be.
Back in the old days at Richmond, that used to be a very big issue. This was an old flat half mile, and even before that, when it was Strawberry Hill Raceway. Conley in second, looking for the lead. Here's the move to the bottom. He can't see a thing in front of him, Benny. It's all clear, wide open racetrack as Conley takes the lead.
Well, he almost took the lead. Now we go down in turn 3, but Christopher fights back on the outside. And Ed Kennedy, the 0 car, he's joining this race. He says, come on, guys, let me play.
Tried to make it 3 wide, had a notion for a moment, elected not to make the move as Conley tries to complete the pass, and Christopher resists very stubbornly indeed. When you never won and you're this close, you don't want to give it away. The other question in my mind is they put the 92nd lap in the book, 92 of 150, is the consequence for these 2 guys in terms of their tires running this hard side by side.
Now you asked about the sun. The sun can be a problem going down that back stretch. Christopher used the slow car as a pick, and now the caution flag is once again out as we've got cars in trouble off the corner. Ed Kennedy is spun, and is that Avansian's car?
I believe that is S.J. Avansian's car, into which his son Dale had climbed moments ago, and almost immediately gets into a tangle there with Kennedy. Apparently not a lot of damage. Both have been able to continue.
And Kennedy was running in 3rd spot. There we see the 30 car. That's the slower car that we saw. And Kennedy comes off the corner. Oh, he just spins by himself right directly in front of Dale Avansian.
Dale got the binders on hard. There was the barest bit of contact there as he just kind of nudged into Kennedy's car. Neither of them hurt. Both able to continue. 5th caution of the day. I think the key thing that we saw there was that spectacular pick that was set by Christopher, and the fact that the Tidy Cat car came through there. The driver couldn't see much. We'll take a break and be right back. Back at Richmond International Raceway, I believe this qualifies as irony. You see what Tim Conley is seeing as he goes down into turn 3 here. Bright sunshine, blinding sunshine, that is going to produce the 3rd red flag of the day.
The first 2 red flags were for rain. And now the 3rd is for...
Too much sunshine.
That is unbelievable. You talk about irony.
I think that's irony. Boy, I may need my Websters to determine for sure, but I think that's irony. Want to find out what's going on with Reg Ruggiero, because he's gone from being a top 5 car to a way in the back car, and perhaps Jerry Punch can tell us why.
Well, unfortunately, Reggie Ruggiero had a problem. Mario Fiore, the car owner, brought him in, and the car kept getting looser and looser and looser, and what had happened was the left rear wheel had worked loose. They brought him in and changed the left rear tire, but he lost a lap in the pits. Now, his most recent pit stop here under the caution flag, now the red was to get a pair of these. He said, guys, I'm already a lap down and I can't see a thing, so I'm going to pit for sunglasses. Give me a pair of sunglasses. I gave him a pair. He's back on the racetrack, but we're under red right now.
And this red flag is for the drivers to either A, have the opportunity to do that, get their own sunglasses, or B, to wait, what would it take, 5 minutes perhaps, for that sun to drop back down behind the trees that ring the outside of the racetrack and cease to be a problem. It won't take long, but there's that critical period. And Benny, I think that's a good call. I mean, safety is always foremost in NASCAR competition. You never want to throw that red flag, but just as a slick racetrack is a problem, so is driver blindness.
Well, exactly. You're going down the backstretch at probably 140 miles per hour. Someone has a problem, and they're sitting there. Stop. And you can't see them and plow into them at 140 miles per hour. There's nothing in the world more dangerous than that. So this is a good call.
And it will be brief. This is not something unknown. This will be over in a hurry. It's always sunny, of course, in Phoenix, Arizona. World of Outlaw Racing from there, Manzanita. It's actually a nighttime race, but it'll air at 8:30 tomorrow night on ESPN. And then they go on to the City of Lights, Las Vegas, Nevada, on Tuesday. And the Deuce will follow them. 11 o'clock Eastern time will be the airtime for that as we stay on top of the World of Outlaws action. The modifieds are under red for the third time today. Let's slip in one more commercial break, and then we'll be back with more. We're back at Richmond. Those trees are pretty in the background with the sun shining on them.
Hey, you folks in California, you've always heard the expression fall colors. That's what we're talking about. The leaves change colors in the fall of the year.
But have we solved the problem at the entrance to turn 3? Well, we got a little help there. There's a big cloud obscuring the sun for just a moment. I'm not sure if that cloud pops out of the way, then what happens? In any case, we want to thank these guys. Paul and the guys at Equipment Supply Company. See that little stick on top of that lift? The onboard camera picture from Conley's car go over to there, through that little stick, up to the top of the tower, up to the, I don't know where all they go, but anyway, they end up in your living room, and it's in part because of the guys from Equipment Supply Company, and we appreciate it. So I have a question. Jerry, why didn't they just tape up the windshields? Why doesn't that solve the problem with the sun like they do on a Cup car?
Well, Dave, they would do that except for the fact that they don't have a windshield to tape. If you take a look at these cars, all they have is a little funnel-shaped screen in front of the driver, and that wouldn't really be a way to put much tape on that. You know, in the Winston Cup racing, we go to Atlanta, for example, in a couple of weeks for the finale, they can put tape on the windshield, and that helps with the sun entering turn 3. You can duck up behind that tape and act as a visor. But here in the modifieds, plus these cars are only 40-inch roof height. They're about a foot lower to the ground than a Winston Cup car, and without a windshield, there's no way to put tape on it to have a visor. So they had to bring out the red flag to allow them to sit here until the sun went down far enough where it wouldn't blind them entering turn 3.
Well, right now, let's see. It's almost the same, but I think it's going to be better as he turns to go in turn 3. I think there will be visibility. Before, about here, the driver went blind, and now he's able to see. So I think that the track is now safe enough to race on.
Much better situation than it was before the red. Here's your running order, and refresh your memory. Ted Christopher started last. Tim Conley battling for second in the championship, second on the racetrack. Blewett Baldwin has rebounded after having some trouble and one spin to sit inside the top 5. But remember the key here. You've got Stefanik, Hirschman at 7, Stefanik at 8, Fuller in 9th, all having pitted and just beginning their run back to what they hope will be the front of the field when this yellow then red came out.
I think Jan Leedy was the guy that also pitted with that group, and he's able to get in front of those guys. Now we see 16 through 30.
And nothing dramatic, I don't think, anywhere in there. Tim Airy with his trouble, the 66, had gone from 30th to 10th. Leaky valve cover, and that has dropped him back. He made a pit stop. He's now 20th. The car's actually still pretty good. So we're getting ready to restart this thing with a third of the way to go. It's been a difficult 150 laps to get in here, Benny. And I guess it's kind of an issue of just being able to maintain concentration, relax when the time comes, and then focus again when the time comes.
You see the 00 car that Ted Christopher is driving. Several drivers of name have been in that car. Dick Trickle's driven that car. Steve Park, Tim Airy, Curtis Markham. He drove that car at Watkins Glen. And Tim Airy told me he's supposed to drive this car full-time in 1998.
You got to believe that that's going to be a good opportunity because Christopher certainly made the best of Joe Brady's ride here today. The Brady bunch been fielding modifieds for a long time. There are as many legendary car owners in this division as there are legendary drivers, and over the years most of them have come here to Richmond, although they've only run 5 times since the racetrack assumed its modern day configuration. They used to come here and run regularly at the old Strawberry Hill Raceway, which preceded the building of this magnificent speed palace that is now the home of Winston Cup.
We'll see the cars going by the start-finish line. The signal has been given. 1 lap to go. It was actually given the last lap, and I think there was debris on the racetrack, something they had to hold up the restart for 1 lap, but now they're ready to go.
You know, in the 90s, with all the fun in sport, there are also other issues involved. Outside the Lines is going to look into the business of sportsmanship in the 90s. Is winning everything? Profile on Joe Dumars, the epitome of good sportsmanship. Talk about how bad sportsmanship has become a problem in high school sports. What is sportsmanship? There'll be a Jeff Gordon interview in that segment, and this will all be followed up by Bob Lee's town meeting discussing same as 8 to 10 panelists representing various sports talk about it. Side-by-side battle for the lead as we get back to the sport at the moment. That is Conley on the inside and Christopher on the outside, and after the red flag, Conley is a car length better.
Makes it work this time.
Position battles back through the field. Leading appears to be the man leading the charge out of that group of drivers who pitted earlier. As Betty pointed out, he managed to get out in front of Hirschman and is currently 4th on the racetrack.
Now we see Tom Baldwin as he comes up right on the back bumper. I'm sorry, that's a 00 Christopher as he comes up and gives our leader a little bump. Meanwhile, a great battle going on for 3rd spot. That's John Blewett in the 77 and Tom Baldwin in the number 7, and leading on the outside of Baldwin. That's a battle for 4th.
And Hirschman is right behind Leedy, then ducks in behind Baldwin. Remember the problem for Hirschman, the tires were blistered at about 80 laps. He's got to come through the traffic and save the tires simultaneously, and that's tough to do. That's the blue number 3, the 96 Series champion.
And the 3 abreast of Stefanik dives to the inside, and they will go in the corner, but Baldwin luckily eased off and let Hirschman get the spot going in the corner on the outside.
Well, not lucky for Tiger Tom, hoping to pull off his first win of the season. He is instead going backward. He'd been as high as 4th since the restart, but has now slipped back into 8th spot.
And Stefanik comes Leedy, looking to the inside of Blewett, can't make it. Meanwhile, Stefanik on the outside of Hirschman.
Spectacular racing at the front of the field as we enter the final 50 laps of the final race of the season. There is the move by Leedy as he tries to take over the bottom of the racetrack, but around the outside goes Stefanik, and Fuller is also coming up to join the mix.
And Stefanik gets all these cars, gets position. There comes Fuller, as you talk about. Also Eddie Flimke going by Tom Baldwin.
I think if Stefanik's car was loose, they managed to solve that problem during the attention on pit road. Looks as good now as it did early in the race. He's Jason Blewett, who had 21 wins over 3 divisions and was the 96 New Egypt Speedway Small Block champion. John Blewett Jr. Real scramble as Stefanik comes after him on the inside, and Lady's off his right hip.
Man, what a battle this is for the lead. Off turn 4, and there is Christopher on the inside of Conley. And he takes the lead. And now Stefanik on the inside of Blewett. And now he's going to take over 2nd spot as he goes by Conley.
Hirschman comes with Stefanik and will try to edge in front of Blewett as they hit turn 3. They are wheel to wheel and hub to hub. Terrific racing up front. Christopher says, I want to get out of here. Opens up a couple of car length separation over 2nd place, but it's no more than that.
Now Stefanik looks for the lead. Stefanik dives to the inside of the 00 Christopher. Oh, ran him on the apron.
Teddy says, if you're going to get around me, man, you got to work for it. You've won 9 of these things this year. I've never won one. I want this bad. That was good.
We see Rick Fuller on the inside of Blewett. Now, once again, Stefanik comes off the corner. He's going to try the same thing. Yes, he is.
Got one blowing up the front straightaway, and Airy showing smoke all over the place. Let's see if the yellow will come out. So far, no caution.
And Christopher still leads. Oh! Stefanik got a little bit fresher tires. You see the 00 that time go really wide because he saw the smoke there. It concerned him. He went really, really wide. Once again, Stefanik gives it a shot. And this time, Christopher knows he's there. Did not run him on the infield.
So what about Hirschman? Hirschman says, I'm going to jump right up into the middle of this mix and go with Stefanik. Let's see if we can get rid of Christopher and go off and decide this between us. But I don't think Teddy's going to roll over here.
Sure did roll over. Stefanik is back in front.
Classic example of patience, waiting for the right time, getting the car right. This car was completely dominant in the first half of the race, which now, after all these reds, seems a long time ago. For second, Hirschman on the bottom. Christopher will try to pinch him in traffic. Further back, there's Fuller trying to go around the outside of Conley.
And Conley goes in the corner, just drifts up the racetrack. Looks like the right front tire might be going on Conley's car. That time he went in turn 3 and just car straight ahead, just pushed straight ahead.
Just looking out the back of Conley's automobile. This is back up front with the leaders. Hirschman has not been able to dispose of Ted Christopher. Leedy sits back there in fourth with a brilliant orange-colored machine, the 25. Top 4, nose to tail, big crash. The 82 is in the wall. Danny Watts Jr. out of Wading River, New Jersey. That will bring out the yellow with Stefanik in front.
And obviously Watts can't stop the car because it knocked the brakes off the automobile when he made contact with the wall.
He hit, what, over in 2 and has now come all the way around to start-finish, carrying the right front aloft, as you can see.
Right rear tire is going to blow in just a minute because we see where it's rubbing the Nerf bar, and that's going to rub through in just a minute. Now he finally gets it down on the apron of the racetrack.
He's a regular up at Riverhead Speedway, and wanted to kind of dedicate his racing efforts this week to Bob O'Rourke, who was the chief steward up at Riverhead and passed away last week. And Danny, this is an opportunity to get himself on national TV. He's looking for a sponsor. He'd like to do more of the modified tour races, but his business that he runs kind of gets in the way of that, so he stays close to home up there at Riverhead. So that's a bad end for a guy who's hoping a good day here today.
So Ted Christopher decides he's going to pit. Once again, Tim Conley, our Tidy Cat car, is going to pit. Also, Tom Baldwin is going to pit. So all these guys that pitted earlier and got up front, now will have to pit again and go to the end of the line.
And remember, this was the strategy, at least for Conley, that the crew had planned on when they made that early pit stop. They said about 120 will probably come back in and put the other 3 tires on the car. We're at 118 and under yellow. So in terms of getting the break they needed timing-wise, this is it. I guess my question would be how far back through the field these guys are going to be able to come in the 32 laps that now remain. Let's go to Jerry.
As the Bob Garbarino crew goes to work on the Tidy Cat Mystic Missile machine of Tim Conley. Remember, he's got a lot at stake here these final 30 laps, trying to hang on to second in the point standing, just 30 points, 40 points in front of Rick Fuller. Now the car, number 4, had gone away. It had gotten so loose that Conley could barely hang on as the 7 of Baldwin goes back out, and Christopher now being in front of him, headed back out on turn 1. They will change the left side tires on the car number 4 of Tim Conley, and they hope that possibly he can get back out and get in the top 10. Remember, if there's a restart in the final 10 laps of the race, as Conley leads, they will go single file. So these guys have just pitted, possibly hoping for another caution flag to be able to get a single file restart in the final 10.
And for the record, they do not finish under yellow in the modified division. If you get a yellow at the end of the race, they do clean it up and come back to do the green-white checker. We'll take a break and be right back. We're back at Richmond. The leader is Stefanik. We're at lap 126, and that is significant because all the lead lap cars are single file. And back at the tail end of this group, 17 cars on the lead lap, you're going to find that 4 car of Conley and other cars that stopped and got those fresh tires. They've now got to pass this big long string of cars to get back to the front. And there's the sun, which continues to bedevil the front runners just a little bit.
And look at Eddie Flemke go by Ricky Fuller, take over that 4th spot.
Flemke in the black car, Fuller in green and white. Fuller in position to perhaps hang on to second place in the championship. Hirschman, or rather to gain second place in the championship, taken away from Conley. Hirschman trying to take the lead away from Stefanik in a battle of Goodyear versus Hoosier.
Stefanik, the 6 car, has a Goodyear. The 3 of Hirschman, he will have on the Hoosier tires. And Hirschman, he was the guy that tested for Hoosier. He's the guy that said, this is the tire you need. A lot of laps on the racetrack doing that. Is it going to be an advantage here near the end of the race?
Remember the blistered tire around lap 80 for Hirschman. It certainly doesn't seem to be impeding his progress now as he challenges Stefanik on the outside. Fuller tries to get back what he lost to Flemke and is not able to do it.
And Stefanik had some kind of problem off the corner. Looks like he might have gotten a little bit loose. Gave the advantage to Hirschman and almost rubbed tires as they came off the corner. Hirschman on the outside. This is for the lead.
With 20 laps to go, you always wonder if the next pass may be the last pass. You do not want to surrender the lead at this point, especially to a man as hungry as Hirschman. Lady sits back there saying, go ahead, boys, run those 2 cars together. I'll take that lead.
And here Hirschman dives to the inside. Stefanik comes down, blocks that move.
Benny, you're the expert, but that looks like a couple of pretty evenly matched race cars to me.
Boy, don't they look like they're evenly matched.
And lead, he just keeps coming.
I would be, if the 3-car of Hirschman, if he were able to get in front, I doubt very seriously that Stefanik could pass him. And we see that Fuller has gotten by Flemke, moved back into that 4th spot. That might be critical at the end of the day when they add up all the points.
40 difference between Fuller and Conley coming in. Conley is back in about 15th position after this restart. Should be going forward with the fresh tires. Flemke, whose business is building race cars, along with Reggie Ruggiero at Raceworks, hadn't won a race this year. Looking for his first victory of the season, and says, Fuller, I will take that position back from you.
And he did that. And Fuller has another challenger. The 17 car of Curvino. Back to the lead, the 6 car, Stefanik. And we got trouble off the corner. Charlie Pastriak in 5.
Sam Russo, is it? I think the 88 also involved up there, sitting crossways in the racetrack. And who's that down in front? Is that Kennedy again?
Looks like Kennedy. And also, that's John Blewett in the 77 car.
Well, that's a tough hand for what has otherwise been a pretty decent day. Blewett ran as high as 3rd before, let's see, he made a pit stop with that bunch, didn't he? That cost him the opportunity for a top 5 finish. A little bit of flame down there in Pastriak's left front as he climbs out.
And that little bit, there we see the car on the inside is Pastriak. Around it goes. And then other cars start making contact. There we see Russo in the 88. We talked about him. And there's Kennedy, Blewett, several awfully good race cars eliminated. Now that will really help Conley in his battle to try to beat Fuller in the championship for that 3rd spot. There's Sam Russo.
Sam does 14, I have the statistic now. We talked about this at Watkins Glen. I have the statistic. 14,000 lawns a week. 120 employees. They use Walker lawnmowers, which explains why that's the sponsor on his car. Most 14,000 lawns a week. There's Pastriak climbing out of the family paving business sponsored automobile. He and his brother.
I'm glad that little fire went out because, you know, little fires make big fires.
Yes, they do. And big fires cost a lot of money. And the last thing you want to do is cook your race car at the last race of the season. The Pastriak boys have inherited the family business from Dad, who was a big racing enthusiast. 35 years they've been in the paving business. Well, this will get us inside the final 15 laps to go. That sun will be down by the time the sun sets here on the Featherlite Modified Tour 23 race campaign for 1997. Stefanik, Hirschman, Leedy, Flemke, and Fuller, the top 5. Don't be surprised if that deck gets shuffled a time or 2 more before this one's over. How's that for a sunset at the General Mills Fall Final at Richmond International Raceway, the 23rd and final race of the NASCAR Featherlite Modified Tour season. the 97, and boy, it's been a good one. Mike Stefanik leading. Here is Tim Conley's view of what happened in that big wreck.
Wow. I don't think
smoke, a lot of spinning cars.
I don't think he was able to stop. Just fortunately, when he got there was a hole to drive through. He could drive, but I don't think he could stop. The signal's been given from the flagman. 1 lap to go. 1 to go.
I guarantee you he could not do the arithmetic fast enough to know, Benny, that those 4 cars that crashed right there moved Conley back into second place in terms of the championship, because Fuller is what now, 5th on the racetrack, and Conley is now 12 points up if they threw the checker right now. What about Stefanik versus Hirschman, Doc? You got an insight into that, I think.
Well, you know, the draft is pretty important here, even in these modified cars, particularly on the front straightaway of this D-shaped oval. And at the beginning of the race, Stefanik used the draft just past the start-finish line to make a move inside of Hirschman to make the pass. Now, the last 4 or 5 laps of the green, Stefanik was actually moving over to keep Hirschman from retaliating and using the draft. Watch for Stefanik to guard the inside groove past the start-finish line.
Green in the air at 140, now 142, as they run down through the kitty litter and charge off into turn 1 with Stefanik holding Hirschman at bay.
What a mess. Hirschman looking on the outside. I think that's probably a decoy. He's probably hoping that Stefanik will think he's going to go it on the outside, but he's going to try it on the inside. Well,
that's the move Doc talked about.
See Stefanik move over, just like Jerry talked about, to block that draft. The slingshot pass. This is for the lead. Hirschman really gets a run off the corner. And once again, Stefanik comes down and says, okay, Tony, you're going to do it. You're going to have to go on the outside. And we can see that Hirschman doesn't have enough to drive up on the outside.
Leedy sits in 3rd, perhaps 5 car lengths back, trying to figure out a way to get around both of them. That is very tough indeed. Stefanik playing it exactly the way Punch called it, covering the bottom and making Hirschman go the long way around.
And right now, I think Hirschman is a little bit faster than Stefanik, but not fast enough to do it on the outside, I don't think. He's trying it because that's the only avenue open to him. 6 to go, Dave.
What a great way to wrap up the season. I mean, here you've got last year's champion in the blue car coming up on the outside, trying to get around Stefanik, this year's newly crowned champion. He, in turn, trying to gain his 10th victory of the season. The 2 best in the business for the last 2 years, slugging it out with 5 laps to go. Man, it doesn't get a whole... Whoa, we got trouble here. This thing is going to boil down to a 5-lap shootout. That is Dave Crook, who has looped it off of 2, and so yet again, we will get a restart.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, they'll be practicing their shifts on this caution flag to make sure, and Crook is able to drive away, so this is going to be a very brief caution flag.
Now, still they had to throw it because Crook was stopped over there. The Riverhead Raceway regular has a left rear. Is obviously a problem.
That's not Crook. That's a 04 car for Barabee.
Well, I take it.
Yes, Dave Barabee. I thought it was a 74 car myself.
This happened over in 2, which has been the trouble spot all day.
And we see the left rear tire is flat, which caused Barabee to spin around. Too bad.
What is it now? It's a bear backwards or something? What are you talking
Be a
about?
bear backwards.
Be a bear backwards. It's not Berube, it's Barabee, and the way to remember that is it's be a bear backwards. 96 Riverside Park Speedway champion Dave Barabee getting a new left rear in anticipation of this shootout, which will now be no more than about 3 laps. 1 to go.
1 to go, so next time by will be a green flag, 2-lap shootout for the victory.
Hirschman's going to need to jump him right on the restart, and that's going to be tough to do on Stefanik, who wants to make it a nice round 10 wins for the 97 season to cap off his 3rd championship.
He wants to do as well as Jeff Gordon, by all means, and Jeff Gordon has won 10 races this year. Although Gordon may win another one, but right now the count is 10.
Interesting division, these modifieds. Fuller will move on to Busch Grand National. Stefanik is very happy right where he is. You can catch up with all the racing activity on RPM tonight. The Professor Benny Parsons is there on Mondays. The show is on the air Monday through Friday on the Deuce at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. John Kernan, the host. Weekends, of course, it's an 8 o'clock show time. They'll have all the scoop from what's been happening out at Phoenix with the Winston Cup cars. I notice a bit of strange alignment on the front end there on Tom Baldwin's car.
Yeah, that bar that's pointing straight upwards is supposed to point straight out. So he's made contact with the back of someone and knocked it.
Here we go. 2 laps to decide it. Stefanik out front. Hirschman chasing as they come down to what will be the final green flag of the day. Stefanik didn't leave a thing there.
Sure did. Now Hirschman, he'll have to go to the outside, but he wants to make a run on the inside. He's trying on the inside, and this time Stefanik goes up a little bit, but not quite enough.
Just a little bit, but not enough. And now Stefanik feints to the outside as they come to the white flag for the final time. He's making that Burnham Boiler modified as wide as you can make it. Hirschman is all over him down the back stretch for the final time. This will be the last opportunity for Tony, and it's not much of a chance. He looks to the inside. Here they come to the checkered flag. It is over, and Stefanik has won it. 10 times in 1997 he has been to victory lane. This amazing, magnificent season comes to a spectacular end here in Richmond, Virginia, as he claims the General Mills fall final. Somehow, Benny, that seems fitting.
It sure does. What a great season that Stefanik has had. Saw the folks from Burnham Boilers yesterday, how happy they are with the year that Stefanik has had, not only in the Featherlite Modified Tour, but also the NASCAR Busch Grand National North Series.
He builds his own race cars and thinks of the modified division not as a stepping stone to something else, witness Fuller, but as his destination, his home, the place where he makes his living. And in 1997, he is the best in the modified business. Mike Stefanik, 3-time champs, 10 times a winner in 97. We'll hear from him when we come back. We're back at Richmond. Take a look at your unofficial results from today. Stefanik winning it over Hirschman, holding him off in the late charge. Rick Fuller in his battle for second in the points, and we'll see how that turned out here in a moment. Tom Baldwin a little disappointed today. Satch Worley looked like he was going to be better than 9th.
Had a great run. And Conley, we saw him run so well early on, will finish 11th today. Dan Avery battled on with 7 cylinders, salvaged a 13th out of it, and we saw Reg run so good to begin with, finish 14th, and Doug French in 15th.
Everybody remembers their last race of the season. That's the one you got to live with, good or bad, throughout the offseason. So for these guys, well, there's going to be plenty of room for improvement when the 1998 season kicks off in late March up there in the chilly Northeast. John Blewett, in particular, had a better car than what it appeared here today. But bottom line, the winner is Stefanik, and he's in victory lane with Jerry Punch.
Mike Stefanik climbs out of his car, and the celebration begins in victory lane here as Mike gets a big hug. Oh, what a way to finish the year, Mike. An even 2 handfuls, win number 10.
Yeah, win number 10, I'll tell you. We made that sway bar change that I told you about. It was kind of a gutsy call because that's a big change, but the car responded well. The guys did just what they needed to do on the stop to give us a car just capable of beating out that 3. Great win for Burnham. They had a hospitality event here. That's great. Goodyear tires held out another one. I don't know, the guys, Tony's Motors, it's just great. I'm thrilled.
At the beginning of the race, you used the draft here in the tri-oval in the front straightaway to be able to get by Hirschman. The last few laps, you were blocking the draft.
Me? Not me. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, you do what you got to do. Tony ran into me pretty hard down the Bastards. I'm sure he didn't think he was going to hit me that hard, and I almost lost it. I'm like, wow, don't do that again. But it was a great race. He got up on the outside of us, and I wasn't going to give him the bottom. The only reason I moved down was, if you want to go to the outside, you're going to pass me on the outside. I'm not giving you the easy way out. And Tony's a great competitor. We had great races all year, and I wasn't worried at all. I just knew it'd come down to just who had the better car, and we just beat him out.
How truly appropriate. The man who won 2 championships the first time in the modern era of NASCAR wins the finale here at Richmond. Congratulations again, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry Punch. Thanks, all ESPN. Everybody back home, thank you.
Let's go back upstairs to Dave Despain.
And let's settle that issue of second place in the championship standings. It is Conley over Fuller by a narrow margin of 15 points. Rick Fuller making his final start in the modified division here this afternoon. Tony Hirschman finishing 4th for the year, failing to defend his championship from 1996. But Benny, another great season, a great race today, and a great season for the Tour.
It was, and this year I think we did 3 or 4 races, and I tell you what, we saw great racing in the modifieds all year long, and I look forward to doing more in 1998.
Richmond, Virginia has always been a hotbed of modified racing dating back to the days of Strawberry Hill Raceway. Tonight, as the sun sets, folks in Richmond talking about all the excitement here today. Charlie Bacon owns the car that Mike Stefanik drives. He hooked up with Pete Beal in 1992 to become Bacon Beal Motorsports, and they set out the following goals for the 1997 racing season in the modified division. We want to win 10 races, and we want to win the championship. And here this afternoon, they have done just that. We tip our hat to the winners, and we look forward to World of Outlaws coverage from Phoenix Manzanita Raceway. That's coming up tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific, and we'll stick with the Wing Sprint cars for their action from Las Vegas, Nevada on Tuesday, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. We're all going to say farewell to Speed Week on the 15th of November at midnight on Friday night. Hope you'll all tune in for the final edition of Speed Week, and we'll all try to figure out what Bob Jenkins is going to do for a living. Red Byron was one of the first of the champions of the modified division back 50 years ago when NASCAR was reborn following World War II. Racing got started again. Now, as we move into the 50th anniversary celebration of NASCAR next year, this modified division is in very good shape. The cars have evolved dramatically from full-fendered coupes to today's open-wheel machines. But the bottom line is the #1 cat in this league, whether you call him the Rhode Island Rocket or Champ, is Mike Stefanik. He's won the modified title, he's won the Busch North Crown, and we congratulate him on a great year.